All right. Hello, everybody. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Michael. Feel free to come on the camera at the beginning if you want to say hi. It's always nice. And yeah, hello there. Nice to see you, Jamie. It's been a while.
It has. Good to see you. I can
Yes.
one of the reasons why I signed up for the conference was to get a chance to hear you. So,
Oh, wonderful. Well, we'll get a chance to talk.
so
Okay. Hey, Michael. Nice to meet you
Uh,
there.
hey, Jakub. How are
Where are you
you?
from?
I'm from Poland.
Oh, okay. We're neighbors. Nobody then. Okay, all right. So it says Q&A, but I just have a few things to discuss and just to throw out there, and then we can just take it from there. So let me go into presentation and just share some of my thoughts of what I would like to discuss today, and then once I'm done, you can come back on the camera and we can talk about it. I'd be happy to, hear your thoughts on it and discuss it. So okay, so here we are. My topic for today that I chose to begin with or to go with is like, okay, well, what really is human design? What is it? What is it really about? What are we really talking about here? Because we can get so excited about the particulars of like the incarnation cross and variables and whatever the line is and whatever the transit is. But uh, how can we actually make it work? Okay, so this is my kind of an idea to bring up today. And just super briefly, this is my birth time. I'm a MG24, Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix. My experiment started in 2006. Took all the courses with Linda Bonnell, and then again with General Oblivion, Human Design America, where I teach professional training. I've been a teacher, an analyst for many years now, 15 years. And yeah, many readings. And here I am. I really love this system, really love this work. I really dig it. It helps me so much personally, but I also very much enjoy looking at, well, what is it really and how does it really apply? Because when I came into human design, all I heard Ross speaking about was strategy and authority, strategy and authority. Of course, that's the foundation, but what does it actually mean? My first 3 months, I was like completely had no idea what it means to respond. Of course, for me as an MG, it's a challenging concept for somebody who's got all his channels, all the definition in red, unconscious, furthermore, and as somebody who's got, two manifesting channels, this is manifesting and generating, and this is manifesting, of course, furthermore, complex issue. Well, what does it mean to respond? And uh, that's why I was always trying to see, well, how can we actually apply it? What all this information that we have access to, it's fascinating. We like it. We study it because, we know there is something in it for us, but how do we actually translate that into our everyday life on a practical level? And it just so happens that my design Earth is in gate 20, line 4, which is called application. And if I just change the statement of that gate and line into a question, it's about, well, how do we transform the understanding of human design into right action? So that's kind of been my mission for years. First for me and then for my students and clients. And I have some thoughts about it, So let's just say life as well as human body is inherently self-healing. So there is a great wisdom in life and in the body that as long as we get out of our way and are more aligned with who we really are, as that happens, then we are becoming more and more healthy, physically and psychologically, right? And as Tai Chi Master says, it's not about how you do Tai Chi, but rather about removing all the extra motions and things that are unnecessary when you practice Tai Chi, when you do the form. The better you are at it, it's not like you're adding more to it. You're actually taking away all that's extra, all that's unnecessary. and then the energy can flow freely. And this is what human design can do for us, right? This is uh, what it helps us with. It's about helping us to let go of the unnecessary things we do in our lives so that we can be more aligned with our energy. And so I like to speak about human design that it's like looking in a mirror. It's it's about becoming aware of our body, of what works for us, as well as what works against us. That's obviously the conditioning is a very fascinating part of human design. We can really see the conditioning we have. We can become more aware of that. And yes, the keyword here is aware. Yep, it's all about awareness. Yeah. Now, I would like to point out that we need not to forget that the capacity of our awareness is 100% determined by the body. Like if we're sick and tired and exhausted and living unhealthy life and overeating or whatever, don't have enough minerals, sure we can be aware of things. But it's kind of like with PHS, if we eat according to our design, we nourish our brain properly, and we are able to comprehend things on a different level. So it's the same thing for like just in general. Like if we don't take care of our body, if we're slouching, if we're always stressed out, it totally decreases our capacity to become aware of things. So yeah, it's human design is all about becoming aware of things. And as we become aware of certain things and tendencies in us, it helps us to let go of these tendencies. It's one of the things it does. But just don't forget, it's about the capacity of our body that determines the capacity of our awareness. Kind of a side note, but super important for me. So that's why I wanted to put it out here. And in terms of awareness, we know that we have evolved from the various numbers of centers. There has been a five-centered beings, seven-centered beings, nine-centered beings. This is where we are currently, and potentially in millennia to come, 11-centered beings, as the voice told Ra, right? So we know that as the form changed, so did our capacity to be aware of things. We are becoming better and better at you know uh, understanding our reality. And Ross spoke about the fact that, for example, as we evolved uh, as species in a way that we could really talk and articulate certain things, so as we could name things, so the capacity of our awareness to get certain things actually grew as a result. And I like to think about five-centered beings as, and Ross said these were the Neanderthals, for example. I like to think about them as beings who were, yes, they were kind of in a living in a oneness, but it was kind of a dreamlike oneness because everybody was doing the same thing. They were like a beehive, for example, right? They were like a colony. They were working in unison. They were working together. It was also very much receptive uh, being. The five-centered being was very much receptive. The receptivity, the openness, and the oneness. Also, the place where obviously the matriarchy was very much valued, and because the mother is the giver of life, and obviously we know we need to protect the giver of life. Then the seven-centered beings came to the stage, let's put it that way. And that's where the emphasis on mind and individuality really came into the picture. And as this emphasis came into the picture, with it also came the deviation from nature, and not kind of in and of itself, as I say here, but in the not self. So that is my way of saying, well, seven-centered being in and of itself is not wrong. It's not wrong to be individual. It's not wrong that the mind took the center stage, but it is a deviation of that kind of not self of that brought about the the whole ecological catastrophe that we have on this planet now. It brought about the patriarchy and all the pains and wars. that we've experienced. So yes, this was oneness, but kind of a dreamlike oneness. Then the seven-centered form came about, and it was very much about individuality, and it's this is what we live today because we're still part of the culture, in the evolutionary kind of a point of view. It's just been yesterday that it changed, even though it's been 1781. It's just been yesterday. Last night we went to bed, we were seven-centered beings. This morning we woke up with a hangover and we're nine-centered beings, but we're hangover and we're still living the seven-centered life. We didn't. The alcohol is still in our blood, as a way of saying. And then, of course, the nine-centered vehicle brings the potential to experience oneness once again. And it's as precise quote of Ra as I can remember. I may not get it quite right, but he said something to the effect very closely to this, if not exactly this. It is the destiny of human beings to rediscover oneness through communication. And that's what he was saying many times, and a lot is basically that we need to embrace our uniqueness and communicate how different and unique we are from other person, communicate our unique point of view. And as we do that through communication, we can rediscover oneness and unity with other people again. So as five-centered beings were very much receptive, right, seven-centered very much strategic, left. Now we're again in the phase that's very much right. Raves will be all right, It's actually a funny play on words. They'll be all right. But they will be all right in terms of like completely receptive, no leftness in them. And to be able to do that, it's again going back to what I was saying before. It's about the honoring the body, the form principle. And in my understanding, this is where the real spirituality is about. This is what the real spirituality is about. It's about honoring the body and the form principle, right? So, yeah, well, what can we do to do that? How do we honor the body and the form principle? How can we do that? It's about courage, right? It's about courage to be different. It's about courage to communicate our unique point of view. It's about courage to face our fears of change. And it's about the willingness to leave the relative comfort zones behind. We have these trenches that we dug up into, where we, chained ourselves to certain identities or ideas or, proving strategies or whatever, or avoiding strategies, and we feel secure. But this is where human design helps us to move beyond that, right? It is the help we were looking for to actually face these challenges. And obviously, if you're about to face a challenge, you need some resource inside of you to help you to face that challenge. And we can only do that when we create a safe space within, a place inside of us that will support us, to create the life we were born to live. As we do that space, as we create that space inside of us, then we can also be creating that space outside of us naturally. But it needs to start inside. Well, not really. Sometimes it needs to start outside and then we go inside. It's back and forth, but it goes hand in hand. It's like some people need to first move away from uh, a crazy place where they were living or a partner that really didn't work for them, and then they can start create a space inside of them, or they start before. It doesn't really matter. But ultimately, human design is here to help us with this creation of a safe space within. And, obviously when I do that, I'm talking about the authority, yes, strategy and authority, but ultimately the authority, because strategy is what? It's here to help us to get in touch with the authority. If a generator doesn't wait to respond, they have no way of responding because they'll initiate like hell. If a projector doesn't wait to be invited, they can't really be successful because they have no idea of, recognizing who's actually, really inviting them. Like the strategy helps you to get in touch with your authority, whatever it is, goes for any type, right? So this is about authority, this safe place within you and creating it. It's all about authority. Now, authority gives us very precious stability. It's something we can lean on, something we can trust. It's always there. You know, it supports us when meeting the outside world and its challenges, which is the same as saying it supports us in dealing with our openness, right? Because openness in our chart is actually the outside world. Like the outside world literally is everything that's open in your chart, you know. So, looking at the openness and saying, well, this is where you're fucked up, and this is where you have the not self, and this is where you have a problem. I think that's a really unuseful way of looking at the openness. Uh, the openness really is the world we meet, the challenges we meet, the help we get, the support we get, you know, anything that we meet, good, bad, and ugly, everything is there in the openness. And it all depends on how we learn to face it from that place of stability, right? So, you've, I'm sure, heard many times that human design is here to help you make better decisions. But what are you making these decisions about? As my teacher and friend Genoa Bluen from Human Design America says, well, you're making the decisions about that which enters into you through your openness, right? So that's like, okay, you're open. And of course, certain places in your chart, certain areas, gates, centers, whatever in your chart, are particularly important. And so that means those will especially be potential allies for you, for example, or people you see, not things you're meant to do. That's the conditioning if you want to live it out, if it's not there, but something you have a lifelong relationship with, but it's not you, right? So, this place within you, this place of stability inside of you, this thing we need to face all these challenges, it's the authority, right? It's the authority that helps you to face the openness in you. It helps you to face the outside world. And on medieval charts, maps, where they were marking an unknown territory on a map, they wrote "Hic sunt leones," which is in Latin. It means here are lions, because it's like a dangerous territory. It probably started in North Africa somewhere. Here are lions, and they were marking this unknown territory on the map, saying, "Well, we don't know what's here. There is a danger, but of course there is an opportunity, right?" And I really, really, really love this quote from Joseph Campbell, which says, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." Okay, so yes, we're drawn to that which is not us. We're drawn to look at the things we don't have. We're drawn to be fascinated with the openness in our design and whatever enters into us through that openness. But it helps us. It really is like this authority. That's what it's all about. Like I guess you got the point of my little uh, you know uh, uh, train of thought here is like it's all about the authority and how do we get in touch with the authority and how do we recognize that it speaks to us where in our body do we feel it. It doesn't send us text on WhatsApp. It's like how can you be in touch with yourself to the point of actually knowing what your authority is telling you, right? So the ability to be open to the new, is what facilitates the growth within and without. And this new level of openness, this new level of relational awareness is exemplified in the solar plexus center, which is the center that it's about relational intelligence. It's as we know, the last awareness center that came online at 1781. And I'm just saying all these things because it's so easy to get excited about human design and to go into whatever minute microscopic details of incarnation crosses and variables and especially into like clever interpretations of somebody looking at your chart and saying things like, well, you're like this and this is like that and this is what works for you and this what doesn't. But human design is not about clever interpretations. It's not about mind figuring it out. Not in terms of figuring out the system. You can understand the system because it's a logical system, but mind can never figure our life out, you know. So it's okay to be excited and enthusiastic about human design, especially, you know, now where you've got so many shiny objects in front of you on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook forums about human design. But don't give away your authority to the human design or the person that does your reading or human design teacher, including Ra Ruhu. And, you know, Ra's central message was always that you have your own authority over your life. You're the only expert on what it means to be you. There is no one who can ever know better what it means to be you. And if somebody comes over and says with great certainty that, you know, you have it like this and you have it like that, well, maybe, maybe not. You know, it's like take it as an information and treat it as kind of a springboard for your experiment. Don't take it for granted. You know, there's only one truth, and that's your truth. You know, Ra Uruhu said that uh, the last universal message and universal truth for everyone there is that there is no more universal truth for everybody. Everybody has their own truth. And I love this quote from Ra. There's only, you know, that was the last universal truth he said. It's only our truth. And so, you know, in dealing with human design, we need to be very careful when people are very sure about what certain things in our chart means and telling us, well, this is what it means. Um, no one can know what it's like to be you, right? All we can do as professionals or teachers is to offer our best educated guess. And unless we're humble about it and unless we're sharing it from this place of humility, instead of, you know, the all-knowing God-like authority coming from down from above, well, we're then if we do that, we're doing a great disservice to our clients and we're doing a great disservice to human design in general, right? We need to be upfront with our clients and students that we have our theories, but they have the real experience, and we're just offering them pointers on their journey, not telling them exactly what their life is going to look like. We're not in the business of predicting future, and I think this is a important thing to say because I don't think it's said enough. I you know, Genoa has definitely said it many times in his courses that he taught and that I took with him and in our conversations, how important it is to honor the individuality. Uh, I think Ra was the one who was saying that, you know, he's always excited how people are ready to give up their authority away, even, you know, maybe it was general, I'm not sure, even to human design. And as I said, it's exciting. I love human design. I was excited about it from the beginning. I'm one of those people, you know, like while doing the ABC course with Linda Bonnell, you know, in the middle of it, I was like, right, this is what I want to do as professionally. This is the job I want to be doing. You know, as a 2-4, it became kind of my mission. It was the calling that I really accepted. But we can speed up the deconditioning process. You know, if you try to speed it up, we usually prolong it. Patience is the fastest way. And that's not only the truth for like 47% of people with emotional inauthority, but it's actually the truth for all of us. Um, there is, it's like I've seen it as a teacher, you know, people come into living your design class and they feel annoyed that, you know, they didn't get everything on day one, and that they're gonna be meeting whatever 7, 8 more weeks with me when I used to teach the course, uh, while I'll kind of uh, give them the information in small packets and doses, and they were like, "Well, give it to me now. I want to know it all." And And usually these people, by the end of ABC or at the very latest RC, cartography, they were like, yeah, yeah, I know what you were saying when you were saying, well, you know, it's not about getting it intellectually. It never is. So I really want to use this uh, talk about human design as kind of a reminder that no amount of knowledge is going to speed up the deconditioning process. What we really need is to be humble, and what we really need is to really go into into the experiment and be open. I mean, this is what it does for us. The more we're sensitive and aligned with our energy, the less unnecessary things we do on top of everything, the more we can perceive what truly serves us and what doesn't. And it's not about what somebody tells us. Well, we have our own experiment, and we need to really rely on ourselves. And that's what it's about. It's about us. It's all about you specifically, you personally. And this is kind of what I wanted to bring up today. And just to mention that, of course, you can study human design with many different teachers and schools. Um, One of them in the direct lineage of Rahu is Human Design America, where I teach professional training. I have the privilege of being a teacher for now almost a decade, and you can find us online. So that's what I had for today, and yeah, we can open it up for a discussion. So if you want to come on the camera and just share your thoughts or questions if there are any. I'm very much open to that. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Michael. Whatever comes up, if you want to share something, a comment or a question, happy to talk about it.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. I wasn't for sure exactly what your topic was going to be when it was a Q&A, and it was, it should not surprise me as a splenic projector that everything that you were talking about was more or less what I was interested to sort of hear from you, because any of my
Cool.
discussion that I want to have and the questions I have kind of come from that deep appreciation for you as someone with that depth of knowledge and the experience that you've had over the years in terms of teaching students. But you have that ability to distill things, which are very abstract and very difficult for people to understand. And you're very good with those measured doses. Because the thing that has concerned me the most as I took living your design from you, and
Hmm. Hmm.
one of the things that has troubled me, if you will, like raise it as a concern, was this whole idea that there seems to be this struggle between getting it right and doing your experiment.
Right.
And um, and I don't know, I know as somebody who teaches primarily now analysts at that level, people who have that information. What you said on one of those slides is, I think there's this tendency sometimes for people to get very fascinated by how well they can do a reading and to come off very clever and full of all sorts of information is really too much of an overdose for people to handle all at once.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's like I said, it's one of those things where you want to make sure that there's a little bit more of the human in the human design.
In the design, right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
is because I know that in order to become an analyst, you have to have all of that left information.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, what I find so distressing, I don't know if anybody else does, and if this inspires anybody else to think about things, is how you deal with that with a lot of people who are right-minded, right?
Mm.
You know, that struggle between getting it right versus taking the experiment. Um, do you talk about that with your analyst students? I mean, is that something that is part of training, just like bedside manner is for regular doctors? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good question. Um, I do talk about it, but we're not yet in a place where we would tailor the teaching to people with the left and the right mind differently. We have all the people there, and we're still. I mean, as again as Genoa said quite a few times, human design is big on theory, but doesn't have that much data in the real world yet. There are people who are uh, going into the data gathering and want to improve things, but I think it's still going to take a while. And especially, it's not easy to kind of step over the shadow of Raoru I mean it with the greatest respect, because like if he were to establish some different ways of teaching for different like right mind and left mind, nobody would doubt it. But we need to really know what we're doing to do that. But so the way we address it is that everybody's got their way, just like everybody's got their design, everybody's got their way of learning human design, and it's very much like as you get the information intellectually, obviously it facilitates and supports your own experiment. But and I say to people, of course, everybody's going to be doing the reading differently. I just teach a specific structure to go through as you do the reading, which is a structure established by Genoa, because Ra didn't actually provide any structure. His take was like doing a reading is an art. You can't teach an art. I can give you some examples and some techniques, but there was no structure in the professional training until Genoa established one. And so we have a certain structure that I kind of ask people to follow. But I'm myself, I have right mind, to the right. And yet all the other variables are strategic to the left. So um, there's a lot of strategic in me, but my mind is right. And yeah, it's we're not there yet, to be honest. People need to wrestle with it. I think in terms of doing reading and not overloading people with a bunch of information, that is something that is very crucial, and that's one of the probably the biggest mistake of anybody who is like starting to do readings is that they want to say so much and they just speak so long. And it's like if you do a reading that's over 2 hours, that's crazy. Like I think a good time limit is an hour and a half. Um, Again, as Genoa says, remember it's a foundation reading, not a holistic, all-encompassing reading of your whole design. Ultimately, period, definitive reading. It's not that. It's a foundation reading. And what people really need to hear is what works for them, what doesn't work, and how these ideas of strategy and authority apply to them specifically, given their particular definition, what it means for them specifically. So not to overload people with information is a main thing, when I do reading and the way I teach it. But no, we're not, unfortunately, yet at the place where we would design the courses. And ideally, you know, projector goes for reading to a projector, reflector to the reflector, at least initially, then reflectors aren't really strong on structure. So, maybe as a follow-up reading or a third reading or a follow-up consultation, they may go to another person, not the reflector, but manifestor goes to a manifestor, emotional person to emotional person. That's ideal because if we have these people that are really good professionals and they have all these various designs, obviously if person can choose, then why would I go for a reading to an emotional projector if I'm a splenic manifesting generator? Of course I want to hear somebody's take on point of view, which is who has my experience. It's well, we're not there yet. We're not there yet, to be honest. But I hear you.
But it's great to hear that that direction is at least being acknowledged, right?
Yeah.
Um, because I think one of the things that you do see in this explosion, and I want to make sure I give other people the time to raise their questions as well. But the those Facebook groups and other places are I can speak as a projector. One of the things that I see is that a lot of projectors get their first reading and all they do is they come back and talk about their woundedness, about how they didn't get it right. You know, they're
Oh,
they
oh, how the first reading wasn't right for them, you mean?
well, yeah, and but I mean, in other words, in sort of the teachings, it is taught very much to kind of look at what's wrong with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
some of those instructors who say, well, here's this danger, here's this danger, here's this
Yeah.
danger,
Yeah.
here's where you're wounded. I'm going to be very clever in my interpretation and point out to you, and especially as you know, most projectors who are my age are condition generators, who are still trying to unravel all of that. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's just something that really wanted to direct to you, and I will step away for a second. I have some other questions, but I would really love to hear what other people might have.
But let me respond. I did even hear, I think last year, I believe, a little bit, and I did it at the Rave Marathon or the Rave Festival, whatever the name is now. I forgot how they changed the name. I did actually a presentation which was called "The Not Self is Not Your Enemy," and it's actually about the fact that the way human design is traditionally taught, the way Ra established teaching about human design is very much from the point of view of the not self, which is like, I'm going to show you what's wrong with you. And of course, with Ra's particular design and his dark humor, well, I'm going to shock you and tell you how fucked up you are so that you're going to want to live your design. But perhaps it worked for Ra. I don't know. It sure was a great material for kind of a humor for him and the way he spoke about it in a funny way. But I think what we really need, and this is what I've learned from General Bliven at Human Design America, and this is how we approach the training of teachers and so on, is that we need to look at the openness as the relational issue and primarily, if you have a center that's completely open, how can there be anything wrong with it if there is no structure? So how could there be anything wrong? The Again, quote from Genoa, the problem is not with the openness, but with us not placing the priority on the definition. We're placing the priority on the openness. Something goes into us and we try to deal with it where we experience it instead of defaulting to the authority. Like if you feel emotional about something, what's your intuitive or instinctive immediate hit about it? Does it tell you it's a healthy invitation for you to be involved with it or in any way or not? So of course, this is one of the main themes of professional training throughout, over and over, supporting future professionals in stepping out of that mindset, which is so ingrained in us because of all the educational conditioning. Everybody says, well, it's okay, if you don't win the race, or life and evolution is full of errors, and then if you get a bad grade at a school test, your parents tell you, well, you really need to study more, Jamie. This is, you really disappoint us. We're really sad, and all that crap that we've been through, most of us. And so it's very easy to look at the design and look at it in terms of like what's wrong. And I've even experienced some courses where when look at human design chart and you learn to intone kind of a mantra of, I have a problem with this and I have a problem with that. And I must say, I was pretty sick about that, and really something that I didn't like, because we should be in the business of empowering people, not disempowering people. We should be in the business of supporting them to be their own authority, not telling them that we know how screwed up they are and therefore, we are the authority that they should listen. And because they should trust us, then we should convince their minds to live their design, because that's not what it's about. We can point out things and support them. And yeah, I just want to say this is really one of the main, as I see, the main differences that separates Human Design America and the way it approaches human design from pretty much everybody else, you know. And it is sometimes to my, like some things I hear, it's, some analysts or people who didn't even go through professional training and play analysts and tell people certain things about their chart. It's almost criminal sometimes to hear things like that they were told, So yes, it is really sad to see that, and it's part of the reason why I think human design doesn't have a larger following, like for example, Gene Keys does, because they really focus on the positive, on the highest potential. Sure, he speaks about the shadow frequency of the gate as well, Richard Roth and Gene Keys, But really, the all in all frequency of that is very much positive, whereas the overall frequency of human design seems to me, in general, to be unnecessarily negative, or at least to a point where I think, well, can we get past that, please? Okay, I hear you, but like, what's the next step here? What's the next step?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for the questions. Very happy to, offer my point of view. Michael, is there anything that you'd like to comment on or just ask?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me actually as playing projector as well.
Okay, perfect.
Um, so I've been mostly self-taught. I'm still in my deconditioning phase, my fourth year, still figuring things out.
Well, let me tell
But
you, we're all in our deconditioning phase and forever will be,
probably,
okay?
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I'm kind of simmered down when it comes to absorbing information. I relaxed a lot and just watching what happens and being a lot more content than at the beginning, where it was very ambitious for me to know more, let's say.
Hmm.
And I was listening to you talking about Ra's approach, and also from my own studies of mostly Ra, but I took in lots of different information as well. And I heard you like talking about this Ra's approach of being like a hard-hitting, conditioning others to decondition, let's say leaving an impact. So like making your head spin. So actually it kind of falls off, like it unscrews in a way. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was Ra's way. And I say it kind of worked for me. Um, and I kind of have, let's say, difficulties finding the caveats within the human design system or within the human design community. So in comparison to the amount of information flowing around and the hype and the let's say fervor behind the studying and absorbing the information, there's like very little warning signs, and if they are, they're mostly limited to a few teachers or limited to courses or readings,
And very, very
and
little of what? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
like caveats, like warning signs. For example, it was very hard to come by any information, or maybe it was easy to come by, but it didn't really impact me as much as the information itself. Uh, to have a healthy approach to it. So that was
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm. Hmm. Right.
from me, from my perspective, I had to work hard to find the, let's say, a healthy way to incorporate the whole system into my life and to
Hmm. Hmm.
make it work in a way that's beneficial
Yeah.
and that's not that doesn't create damage that needs healing like unnecessarily.
Right.
I know that some kind of impact um, has to be had for the information to break through the not self. So this is my perspective that if something needs to stick, then it needs to kind of mm, an avenue of entry, let's say.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but I was wondering if you have a sentiment or opinion or want to talk about this kind of um, um, prevalence of information over uh, how to use the information healthily and apply it into your life.
Well, as I said in my talk, that's what I was always looking at. It's interesting, it's exciting, it's great, and I want to say I have a great respect for Ra. I think he was a genius. I cannot even comprehend what kind of a genius he was. But I was always asking myself, okay, so what does it actually mean? How do I actually make it work in my life? And it's been a journey that I'm still on. It's, I think, to some level, to some degree, it's got to be everybody's personal journey to actually find out how that works. Another thing is that, as I teach, I even teach teachers. I teach teachers of living or design. I teach teachers of RAFE ABC now. I'm certified to certify teachers of those two courses. Um, my emphasis is how do you facilitate the conversation with people in the class? Having a safe space, hearing other people share their stories, teaching everything you do in even LYD as well as ABC, from the point of view of, well, let's look at your chart. You're saying this. How does that, where do you see that in your chart? Or we're talking about this authority, how is it for you, and helping other people by hearing other people, creating kind of a community within that course. That's what really is important for it to happen, for people to have a safe, encouraging environment to apply human design in their lives. We need professionals that are doing that with people in the classes. And if you just do things on your own as a self-study, it's very hard to have that support that the group offers. And as I said before, I believe that in Human Design America, where we teach in this way, this is where you can get this kind of support, so that you don't feel there's gonna be like you need to do rash and very like bold decisions to completely uproot your life. Now it's all about taking time. Human design works kind of below the radar. It's like a long distance running. It's not sprint for 100 meters. As I said before, we can't speed up the deconditioning process. We just can't. There may be phases and certain episodes in our life where it gets sped up, through an event or two or something. But in general, we can speed it up, and we just need to be patient with ourselves. This idea of, okay, this is wrong with me. I want to erase it from me. I want to just take a bomb and bomb it out of my system is completely crazy. It's just the mind talking. And in order for you to move beyond any limitations, as Gate 60 says in Ravi Ching, by Ra, we need to first accept that limitation. If you're meant to be able to release something, first you need to actually take it, accept that it's there, and then you can let it go. If you resist it to be there, you can never ever let go of it. If you're still resisting it, you need to embrace it, accept it, then you can move past the limitation, and then the mutation can happen. 60 channel of mutation 63. And yeah, just I think what you're talking about is the support of a group actually, or support of a maybe coming from a group could be also online. But as Jamie pointed out before, really there is a problem with people taking human design too dogmatically. As I've heard of teachers that say to a projector, well, don't talk to anyone unless somebody talks to you. You're a projector. So shut up and listen over there in the corner. Like life invites you every second. Okay, hello. It's not like you need to wait for invitation to go to the bathroom or to ask a person in the line in front of you, what time is it if you need to know the time or whatever. So yeah, it is unfortunate that you know this isn't out there more in terms of this encouraging approach. And I believe what works is if you point out to people what works and doesn't work for them and give them tools to assess it, to be aware of it and play with it and encourage them. And yes, in the reading, it's important to mention the not self. I, of course, do that. And it's very important to not to leave that out because they wouldn't believe you that you know what we're talking about if we leave out this information. But we need to first focus on what is the potential in the openness. What is the potential of your design, not where you're screwed, because it's so easy to do. It's like a magic trick. I could come to a show and do a magic trick. You give me your birth data, and I'll be a magician and tell you all the things about you that you can, whip yourself about because you, yes, I've been doing that my whole life. But that's not what it's about. So yeah, just, as maybe Jamie knows of a community of projectors online that he could connect you with. Maybe you can type it here in the message for Michael if you know, or if you want to share it, say it totally. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually a part of a few, but mostly lurking and reading. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm a for one, so I'm investigating alone a lot, and I wouldn't say that I'm like requiring a community assistance.
Mm-hmm.
After all, we're kind of changing crosses soon, so I'd say the whole idea of community support is kind of fading, and I might be an example of it in my process.
Well, it's fading from the
So
general field, but it's never
yeah,
gonna fade from real lives. So, but anyways, I hear you totally.
yeah. So thank you for elaborating on that.
Okay, sure. Welcome. Jamie, anything there? If you have more, please.
Well, yeah, thank you. Well, and I think what Michael is saying speaks again to that sort of follow up, that community support. These dialogues that you and I are having are very rare in human design.
Mm-hmm.
For me to be able to, your knowledge and experience is so far superior in the field to human design to anything that I would ever be able to amass. But the idea is that it seems to be that these conversations can only happen sometimes in the conversation of teacher student as opposed to fellow traveler. Do you know what I mean? And I
Maybe.
think that is, one of the things that I have learned the most from great teachers have been when they have, if you will, kind of stepped away from the teaching, speak from their experience, and then draw them in. Now, of course, you can look at my chart and find out why that's important to me, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it resonates with me, and it resonates with you, and it may resonate with Michael as well, But that that learning is very precious in human design. The ability to be able to share authentically with people who are also on the journey. And when you hear someone say, you know what, I've been in human design my entire life, and I'm never going to heal that open root. You know what I mean? It's going to be my challenge, but I work it every day and I do my best. Because again, there's this idea, and I think it's no fault of the teaching. I mean, we could sit here and go on forever to figure out what's the source of the teaching, but it's sort of like, you're telling us what human design is about, and the feedback I'm trying to give you is where is human design now, right? For
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
landing? And
Well, because I see that, that's why I speak about what I think it's about, because I
yeah,
see where it's now. That's the reason why I do that.
yeah, and it's great that you do. I remember, the last time I had a kind of connection with you was when right after the pandemic started, you brought Genoa in to speak to people about something that was really relevantly happening in their lives, right? It wasn't a teaching. Do you know what I mean? It was instructive, but it's those type of learning opportunities that, I kind of wish we had more of in human design, which
Mm.
was to be able to speak to the moment, to speak to the experience, and to recognize that even though Michael and I may be on different paths, you may be on different, but there's a chance for us to sort of meet and share as we kind of go through as part of that education. And yes, it happens in the context um, of learning, but I've always wondered why the system called human design doesn't create, the schools don't create more opportunities for those shared learning experiences. Oh,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
as opposed to come back into the
I
teaching.
think just because it's we're still like starting with this, and it's like it takes a lot of energy, effort, maturity, willingness, dedication. It's just a big process. But I have a really cool information to share. According to Genoa, if everything goes well, he's gonna teach Living Your Design, Rafe ABC, and Rafe Cartography himself next year. He's coming back out of the sabbatical, as he did once for PEL4 with me a few years ago. And he's going to teach that next year. and that's going to be super exciting to be part of that. And you're going to hear a lot of this, take on what it really is and how we can look at centers and how we can look at openness. So just check the website, sometime in January, and that's going to be really exciting. I definitely want to be part of that. Yeah. But I hear you, Jamie. I wish it was more. We had more of that. I myself see my limitations, how many classes I teach and how much time I have and how, you know, I'm I'm trying to build something like that here in Czech Republic. We just had our first kind of community gathering of advanced students and professionals, and we're kind of working towards that, and we see what's going to happen. It's cool hearing you speak about it and articulating these questions because you've been in human design for years now, and then you just as a projector you see well what works and what doesn't. So.
Well, I have the 5710, so I
Uh-huh.
and it's in my personality, but that whole idea of creating those learning opportunities for people to really sort of share is, like I said, is you know that I have heard from other projectors. If somebody had told, just sort of like what Michael has been saying, you know, sometimes it's best for projectors to do their study all by themselves and to work with one-on-one with another projector as they go. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And there may be people who are generators who want to skip steps, or you know what I mean?
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
the
yeah.
that you're not even studying it correctly. So it not only are you not getting it right, but you're learning it incorrectly, and then but again, since this is a system of, like you said, of awareness, but it's also in that communication process, it's about understanding your differentiation.
Mm, mm.
And we should be able to say, here's a self-study, and here's a way in which, homeschoolers can meet up with each other for playtime. Do you know what I mean? I'm being silly for,
Right. That would be
you know what I mean?
fantastic. That would be fantastic.
And that it is, if you will, curated. So because, as you know, and I apologize for this statement that I'm about to make, what happens then is that you develop these schools that are built around individuals. I am a disciple of X teacher, right? And the only way in which I can communicate in that is within the people who
Hmm,
teach
hmm,
the
hmm,
teacher's
hmm.
narrow realm, right?
Yeah,
I have to buy more courses from this person. I have to do, you know what I mean? Um,
yeah.
so, hopefully where human design is now, that part of that integration process is getting it so that people can sort of have that shared experience and understand there's different learning styles for them as well. So,
I think, for example, like this High Desert Human Design Conference, right, is a place where all kinds of styles and teachers meet, with various experiences and a lot of people that are enthusiastic and that can provide some kind of exchange of ideas and learning. And so it comes from the bottom, not just from the top. And then hopefully somewhere there's gonna be interface where it can meet because it really helps. Like from my perspective, it just helped me so much when I could always turn when I still can turn to Genoa and say, well, what's your take on this? And he goes off and he knows, he's got so many things to say about it. And I think I have this, like, I remember, years ago I had this really cool insight about something, and I said, hey, Genoa, I want to share something with you. This is what I figured out. And he didn't even blink and wink, and he just said, yeah, but it also means this and this and this and this. And my jaw dropped, and I could see how like how many, steps in advance he went, in his own thought process about that particular thing that I thought I figured out. And it's like, so to have somebody to turn to, who understands, of course, is really cool, but also have the kind of a grassroots gatherings and people who are together, and it's gonna percolate, and there's gonna be a lot of trials and errors, but eventually we'll get there, and of course it would be fantastic if we get there sooner. Maybe you could help with that. Maybe we can keep the conversation going in some way. We have our emails. Yeah. Well, it's been really fun. I don't know if you have any more questions or comments there, anybody. There aren't really that many here of us, but let's see. If not, we can leave it here. It's been fun. And yeah, Jamie, did you want to say something?
No, no, I just wanted to thank you. I didn't know if there were others in the room somewhere that were looking to communicate with you as well. But, being open to having those conversations, I think is really important, especially um, where human design itself is sort of evolving, right?
Yeah.
And to, I hear I want to get your slide deck and I want to be able to see this because you said exactly the way I wanted to hear what human design is about because I think a lot of the
Hmm.
times it gets away from that, right? And
Yeah.
it becomes something different. And
If you wanna type your email here, Michael, and maybe Jamie for you as well, I'll be happy to send you the PDF of the slides that I did. I don't know if you where you'll be able to get the recording through the conference, and if I don't know where Casey or Jonah are gonna post it, but I'm happy to send the PDF
okay.
to you. So
I'm always glad to know that you're in the world doing the things that you're doing and helping the people that you do it. It's just my heart and it makes me remember why you are a great instructor and an important presence in this movement.
thank you. Thank you. It's been so much fun to see you again. Really happy for your questions and insights. And Michael, nice to meet you. And it's all the best in your experiment and a lot of success to you. And I would like to thank Jonah for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And yeah, take care. Bye. Ciao.
Thanks. See you.
See you.